Raise your right hand. Sobriety. The judge has that. He right here. He's getting Zoom ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm back from the Judicial Drug Court and Treatment Court Conference. It was very good. Very good. We had a session, an excellent session on brain chemistry and what addiction does to your brain. I went to an excellent session on women's treatment courts, trying to maybe get some insight to the issues that women face. Went to a session on how difficult it is for people to get their license back from the Driver License Appeal Division. That was very insightful. And there were a lot of people there, 800 people, judges, probation officers, peer support people, prosecutors, defense attorneys, some police, all kinds of people. It's a very big and fruitful conference. We had two brief bench trials set this morning with the city of Sturgis. Mr. Reed was here. One case, the defendant didn't show up. The 9 o'clock case and the 10 o'clock case, the city dismissed it. So we didn't even go live at all this morning. I worked on some things that I missed while I was gone. We do have a couple of visitors here in the courtroom today. Kim and Charity are here, and they came in to watch our proceedings live. And so we have some pre-trials. Judge Pattison was finishing up in the other courtroom. Also have a bench warrant arraignment for a guy who's been AWOL for a while. So that will take us through the afternoon. Then tomorrow morning, we have first of the month pre-trials and landlord tenant in the afternoon. Again, I'm sorry for our friends on the West Coast. I hope the snow is abating in California. And around the country, other people are struggling with bad weather. Ours is coming. And we are still working on getting our sound fine-tuned and integrating the new high definition JAVS cameras into the YouTube feed. So we're still not there, but working on it. All right, it is good to be back. It's good to go to those conferences to get a little re-energizing about why people are struggling, to help people that are struggling make their lives better. Good morning. Hello, Melissa, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. Farler.
Hi.
This is file number 221755SD. It's entitled People versus Hannah Beth Farler. Ms. Farler is here with her attorney, Melissa Halleck. Deborah Davis is here on behalf of the prosecuting attorney's office. I know Ms. Farler since she was about 17. And here she is today on a charge of operating while intoxicated, second offense, and driving with a suspended license. This was a crash, I believe. Deborah, what's the status here?
Your Honor, the people have offered that if she would plead to the OWI second offense, we would dismiss the driving while license suspended, and we would recommend sobriety court screen her. If she's accepted, great, but if not, it would continue on with the OWI second.
I just came back from the sobriety court conference, the Michigan Association of Treatment Court Professionals, it's called. More than 800 people were there, including about 100 of my judge colleagues, and talked about how difficult it is to help people who are struggling with addiction. Ms. Halleck is familiar with our sobriety court program, but I'm not sure whether you are. Melissa, have you discussed the offer with the defendant?
I did, Your Honor, and she did have some more detailed questions about sobriety court that I couldn't answer, such as the length of the program. I wasn't sure on that.
Well, the length is 4 phases. The phases are at least 90 days long. They could be longer. But so about a year. The average time to complete the program is maybe 13 to 16 months. If people relapse, they might have to start a phase over again, but it involves 4 phases. The first phase involves more intensive supervision from the prosecutor's office. One of the fundamental problems with the program is you have to get to Three Rivers to do urine testing several times a week. We are looking at some other perhaps ways to get around this, but it's very difficult to get there when you don't have a driver's license. You could be eligible to get a driver's license with an interlock device after 45 days if you're otherwise eligible for it. The program involves treatment with an individual treatment provider like someone at Community Mental Health or other certified provider, AA or support group attendants like Celebrate Recovery or some of the other programs that are out there. An individual, a group session that we pay for that meets once a week with Spencer Price, who's the treatment professional, perhaps meeting with a peer support counselor and seeing me every 2 weeks. That's the worst part of the punishment. You got to come in here every 2 weeks and I ask you a bunch of questions about how you're doing, how things are going. We hang a substantial amount of jail sentence in abeyance. If the people successfully complete the program, the jail time would be deferred and not served. If not, it's available for enforcement. So Hannah, I'm concerned about a couple of things. We've got some people in here that have very few resources. One guy is about half a step from homeless. He was unemployed. He's found a job. He's found somebody to work with. He's staying with a friend, working on getting his own place. He's getting transportation from Three Rivers. You live way out in the country in the Burr Oak side of the county. And I have a concern that you'd be able to get back and forth to Three Rivers for the testing. Also, there are costs involved. We try to absorb as much of it as we can, but I just talked to some people at the conference on what they charge. Calhoun County charges $1,800 to each participant in sobriety court. Others charge $1,200. Ours is not that expensive, but there's a probation oversight fee. There can be some payment for testing. We try to, as I said, absorb as much of that as we can through grant funding and other sources. But what it is an intensive probation that involves urine testing and meeting with the judge and other treatment professionals. You don't have to commit to it at this point, but I'd like you to consider it. But what's your thought in that regard?
Run it.
All right, well, at one time you were working at Kentucky Fried Chicken and you had a young child and you had a lot going on in your life. Are you employed right now? Where are you working?
Dairy Queen.
All right, what are your hours?
I work seconds.
Say that again.
I work seconds, like
Second shift.
4 to 10-ish.
All right, the sobriety court meets at 2:30 and our treatment program is at 6:30. We are getting almost too big to manage it in one group, but I don't want to split it in half. One of the things I was considering was splitting it between men and women, but there are only so many hours in the day. At any rate, we're at pretty good capacity, but there's room for you if you're interested in it. Now, in order to do that, you would have to enter a plea to operating while intoxicated as a second offense. It's a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. It is going to suspend your license, which I believe is already suspended. If you do the sobriety court program, we may be able to assist you to get a driver's license with an interlock device. I can't answer that because I don't know all the facts, but probably 3/4 of the people in the program have their interlock and are using it to get back and forth to work and
And
other.
what she told me, Your Honor, was actually that she's never had a license. She's not applied in the last 3 years, so.
We've had people, we have a guy right now, hasn't had a license in 20 years. We had a guy from Mendon who never had a license. We helped him get a license. Wanted to stand up and cheer. He got a license, he got a truck, he got his interlock in it, graduated from the program, relapsed, and he's in jail right now for crashing and burning after we went through all the effort to get him a license, fleeing, looting, and some other charges. But so one of the goals would be to try to help you get a license. I guess we can go about this 2 ways. If we enter a plea today, I'll make the referral to sobriety court. You're gonna need to get an assessment from community mental health, and I've got a referral form that I've got for you. So you need to call it and get the assessment. And our policy, and it was yesterday, the sooner the better. Or you can get the assessment and then decide whether you wish to plead or not.
Probably do it all together. I have an intake scheduled for next week on Wednesday.
Very good.
I don't know if it's the same thing, but I'm sure that we could,
Is it with St. Joseph County Community Mental Health?
yes,
How old are you now, Hannah?
too old to be doing this. 26.
All right. Yeah. They say your brain isn't fully developed until 35. I think mine is still developing. I'm not sure, but young people tend to make rash decisions. They said at the conference to have all go and no breaks. And as you get older, your brain has gotten more development and more ability to slow down a little bit. Melissa, how would you like to proceed here?
I think a plea today would be fine, referral for sobriety court. I know she needs to get, she wants to get on top of the services and get things moving.
All right, well, let's talk about this, Hannah. If you do plead to this charge, you'll be giving up your right to have a trial in front of a judge or jury. There'll be no trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you had a trial, you'd have the right to be represented by an attorney. Melissa is here and she would be with you through every step of this, including the sentence. Or you could hire an attorney of your own choosing if you wished. If you had a trial, you'd have a right to have any of the witnesses for or against you subpoenaed to come to court so they could be questioned under oath. You would have the right to take the witness stand yourself and testify, but you don't have to because you have a right not to testify. And if you did not wish to testify, the judge or jury could not hold your silence against you. And you have the right to be presumed innocent if and until the state was able to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You understand?
Yes.
Now, were you driving a car last July 31st at about 3 o'clock in the morning out in, I think that's Colon Township, Middle Colon Road and Steinke Road?
Yes.
And were you in a crash?
Yes.
And had you been drinking?
Yes.
Mike's Hard Lemonade,
Yes.
and they gave you a test, and the result was a 0.136. We accept that?
Yes, Your Honor. I have the lab also that indicates that was correct.
All right. Let's pick a date. I'd rather get this sooner than later. I'm not sure what week spring break week is. Are you available April 3rd
Um,
at
Yes.
10:30?
What time?
10:30?
Yes.
What'd you say my levels were?
0.136. The legal limit is 0.08.
The blood draw was about 2 hours after the accident, so I think her PVT was higher.
Oh, what was the blood draw
The
result?
blood draw was 0.136.
Okay. I was looking at the affidavit. That's more than 2 Mike's Hard Lemonade. The Smiths. LS. Sobriety court referral. Who was your PO the last time?
His name was Dan.
All right, we'll put Daniel. All right. I want you to take these 2 items. Out to the counter. Then I'd like you to stop downstairs and they can give you a little more information about sobriety court. Are you doing anything right now? Are
I
you
am
going to
working.
AA or,
Oh,
but you're getting your, because this happened way last July and here it is now March. I'd rather start to address this problem. But I want you to keep that appointment with CMH for your assessment. And let's see what our screening stuff shows. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
no.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's call the jail.
Thank you.
Hello, booking Judge Middleton calling. Can I see Brian Hart? Yes. Thanks. Bye. Are you doing attorney pretrials tomorrow?
Yeah.
You're just, that's
Like a
everything.
one-stop shop around here.
Yeah.
but Skeleton crew.
Here's Mr. Stickley. Oh, this is Matea Paycheck. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Deborah Davis is here with me. They're bringing this defendant in. Autumn is not here today. That's her probationer.
Okay.
We fit this in the middle of some other stuff, but this actually works out pretty good.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello,
I'll have him up here in just one moment.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Switch shift today.
He's always so very helpful. Except this is the room with the worst sound in it.
Right.
Yes.
With these new speakers, though, I think they're. You hear 'em loud and clear.
How was the bar exam last week? Did I have pretty fun?
Oh, yeah, an experience that I definitely would absolutely love to relive over and over again.
I think once is enough. So best of luck. I'm sure you
Thank
studied
you.
hard for it. I'm sure you're glad it's over.
Okay.
More than I can describe.
All right, well, it's needles and pins until May.
I was.
All right, good afternoon, sir. Are you Brian Dean Hart?
Yes, sir.
I'm Judge Middleton. I'm here at the courthouse. Also with me is Deborah Davis from the prosecuting attorney's office and Matea Paycheck from the public defender office. You were placed on probation in this case, which was 22562 for domestic assault. Can you hear me?
Not very well, sir.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. We have problems with this room.
Let's just get headphones out there, honestly. Help.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. You were put on probation. Let me go to the status report. On a charge of domestic assault. You were put on probation in April of 22. The last time you reported was July 25th of 2022. We lost track of you. August, September, October. We had a hearing that you didn't show up for. We did a show cause. You didn't show up for that, and I issued a bench warrant. The
Oh,
allegation is that you failed to comply with the terms of your probation by failing to report on a monthly basis. We had a hearing set for October 19th. You did not appear. I did a show cause hearing. You did not appear for that. And I issued a warrant for your arrest. So when did you get arrested?
last night,
Where at?
storage unit.
Where? What town?
Right in Sturgis. I was told last time I talked to Miss Kiefer, I was working at Magna and she said, pay off the probation and this would be the last time I spoke with her. So I just mailed in a money order. For, is it 275 or something like that?
Yeah, 275 was due, and you also had to pay for the class. Did you do the domestic violence class?
I was doing therapy with RSU. She said like what guidelines or criteria would touch base for those classes because it was a recovery
No,
house.
she's not here today, so we can't confer with her, but what she said in the status report is that basically you just quit showing up. You were living in a sober living house in Battle Creek and we lost track of you. You didn't do the conditions of your probation. I don't believe you did the anger management class or the other things that have been ordered. And then you just disappeared.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The therapy and stuff with RSU was supposed to cover as long as we followed that criteria. If I didn't know I'm supposed to come down here and do a class or do, I would have found different avenues for that.
You didn't complete this probation in 3 months, April, May, June, and then you went off the grid in July. So you were homeless at that time. We had a Susan Street address. Do you have it? Don't give me the address, but what town do you live in?
After I moved back down from Battle Creek, I've been staying with my wife on in Constantine on White Pigeon Street. She said that no matter how good of a mom she is, our son still needs his dad.
All right, now, what were you doing? How did they come to arrest you at a storage unit?
I was helping some of my friends move some of their stuff because they had their house in probate, and they were assured that they would be able to still get their house. Well, unfortunately, that did not happen. So they were needing help moving stuff. I was because it was 10 o'clock at night. It's odd for somebody to be there that late. I get it. I didn't know I had a warrant, so.
All right. Well, Autumn's not here. I'm gonna show that you're pleading not guilty to the probation violation allegation that you failed to report.
I mailed in that money, so I wonder where that went.
I'm not sure, but anyway, you just quit showing up and we couldn't find you until you accidentally got arrested on a bench warrant. I'm gonna appoint an attorney for you.
For what? Like what do we do now?
All right, the allegation is you violated your probation by failing to appear.
I would have turned myself in a long time ago.
All right, Autumn is recommending that we revoke the probation and I give you 28 days of jail. And get off your back. But because there's a substantial jail recommendation, I figured you could use an attorney to help you with this.
What do you mean substantial?
Well, she's recommending 28 days. That's substantial to some people, maybe not to you.
Yeah, I want you, please understand, I was not I would have turned myself in a long time ago if I had known that was the case. I just mailed in the money order. I was knocking it out the park up there for a little while, but 2-bedroom house, a 6-figure a year position. But that all can get yanked out from under you as quick as it comes and as quick as it can go.
You're talking about in the past?
Well, while I was up there, it was I like Battle Creek.
Oh, in Battle Creek. Yeah, my fear is you got out of the sober living house and you relapsed and you're struggling. I'm going to appoint an attorney for you instead of set a probation violation hearing.
Just revoke the probation to give you the 28 days, Your Honor.
All right, well, let's talk about that. Other than what I just said here, did anybody promise you anything to get you to?
No.
Or threaten you?
No, Your Honor.
Do you understand that you could have a hearing at this probation violation matter? And I could appoint an attorney to represent you in the matter. The public defender is here today to make sure I'm not violating your rights, but you could have an actual hearing specifically assigned to you. You don't have to have that hearing if you don't wish to. You can waive the right to the hearing where the prosecutor would have to show beyond a preponderance that you violated your probation. If you're willing to simply acknowledge that you did not report.
Yeah.
And I can revoke your probation and order the 28 days that were deferred.
It was deferred 28 days?
28 days minus the days that you served.
I served 40 days on a 50-day sentence.
No, you did 50 days and you got 5 days a month. So you got out 28 days less. What did you got arrested last night? So it'd be credit 1 day. Is that what you wish to do?
I just was trying to make sense of the time comp because I was sentenced to 50 days. And I served a legit 40 days.
Yes, that's true.
I even had to bring me back because they revoked me. They rejected me at rehab for a false positive on COVID.
Well, do you wish to admit that you failed to report, or do you wish me to appoint an attorney?
Yeah. I did.
All right, 28 days credit one. Leaving 27 days to do. There will be good time. I'm gonna waive all the remaining fines and costs. Your probation is revoked.
Mr. Middleton,
Yes, sir?
like I said, I did good when I was up there. But just as quick as it comes, it could go, even without a
Yes.
ill intent. A
I
person could
see
do
it all the
good.
time.
And
When you get out of sober living and you relapse and you slide right back to the bottom of the well and you have to climb up again. I think you need some clean time, and I think 27 days would be a good start.
yeah,
All right. Your
Mr.
probation is
Middleton,
revoked. You don't owe me any more money, and you got 27 days to do. Good luck, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, Mattia. I didn't think it was gonna go that way, but I think he just wanted to get it over with. I'm not sure exactly what else was going on there, but I don't think it was good, and he seemed to agree with the clean time. Not sure what his struggle is, but I have a guess. All right, thank you. I'll send this
Of course.
out to the court staff. Good
Have a great day.
afternoon, Mr. Truckee.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
You have Jared Adams. Is he here?
He's here. I have a moment to speak with Mr. Dave.
Sure. Baby, you can do it. Where's Paul's? There it is. Austin Nuthdraft.
He didn't do an assessment.
So what is?
So it says that he went there and said, I don't really have a problem. And so then you don't do the assessment.
So.
We understand there's a big snowstorm coming, which we all want like a toothache. We've had some very mild weather, and now we expect to get 6 to 10 inches of snow, wet, sloppy snow. Then you get school closed, so that makes all the kids happy, but
I hope so.
yeah, you want the snow days. We're tired of snow days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just reset. That's free trial.
I hope it doesn't come. I think it's gonna hit farther north. Maybe we can miss some of it.
For them to do.
For them to do, yes.
You know.
Oh. I'm surprised that's.
Spencer Prices, he.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Mr. Nuthruff, go ahead and have a seat over here if you would. Be with you in just a minute. Your lawyer had to be 2 places at once, so we took care of some other business.
Well, I mean, it's just like.
You know.
So,
One more.
yeah, then we can have an assessment and if he looks like he's been on his Spencer will say. Yeah.
Yeah.
The interior. more
And
so.
you can get, you can get charged.
Before.
Yeah. You didn't get charged more than the tax. Yes, he's asking. Alright, we'll go figure them out. What do we got, Paul?
So I did try to, I emailed you everything ahead, so that's, I mean, he wants to just get it resolved, so if he just has to plead his charge, then I guess that's what we'll do.
But that's going to tank him getting his license back.
Well, it seems like that, I don't know where he's at in that process. It seems like he's more like in the planning stages, because he doesn't have all the letters that he needs.
Well, I mean, we're not in a rush to get the case done. Like, I would have a problem resetting it and having him get those letters if he doesn't have 4 to 6 people that can support. his
You're trying to
signature.
get your driver license restored.
Yeah,
We had an extensive session at the treatment court about how difficult it is for people to get their driver's license restored. You may have done a little bit of that when you were in private practice.
Yeah, I did.
They're very, I don't know how many people actually get it. You need certified letters and a long history of treatment and lots of questions. He's been revoked since 2014 or so. But I'm all in favor of people attempting to get their license back. So what's our status here?
Well, he's hired an attorney, correct, Mr. Northcliffe? He's retained an attorney to help him with the driver's license, trying to, get a hearing before the driver's license appeal division. But as far as, my understanding would be he hasn't gotten, he doesn't have counseling records or AA type records.
Well, he had an interlock and he lost it. And you're in good company. The session we had at the treatment court conference was frankly eye-opening for everybody who was there. When you're in sobriety court or a treatment court, were you in a treatment court?
Sobriety court counts.
All right, and you told me who your judge was, I forgot.
Lester.
The court can run interference for you with the driver license appeal division with the Secretary of State. Well, once you get out, you're on your own. And they are hyper technical. For example, if your battery died and you had to jump start your car and the device was turned off, they want to know, why didn't you hire a wrecker to come jump start your car and where's the bill? If you started your car in the morning to warm it up before you went out in it and a rolling retest came up while you're in the house brushing your teeth and you missed the test, they'll revoke it. Then you've got 14 days to request a hearing, and then it takes about 6 or 8 weeks to get the hearing. They will revoke it for hyper technical violations, and then you're hosed, and then you're on the driving suspended merry-go-round, which is where you are. And then you got this ticket. And in fact, the group, there were more than 100 people in there. It's amazing that anyone comes out the other end with an interlock once they get out of treatment court. And the speakers were saying that many of the people would get so frustrated they would relapse. Their sobriety was maintained. They had so much frustration over maintaining their interlock that they relapsed. So the point I'm making is this is going to take a long time, even if he's got $25,000 for his attorney, Ms.
Right.
Smith.
There's an attorney in
Grand
the
Rapids.
Kalamazoo area that used to be a judge. He used to be an administrative law judge for the Secretary of
He's
State.
retired now.
Okay, but he told me at one point years ago that when he was the judge, if someone brought everything they needed that he thought they should get their license, he would still reject them usually one time with the idea that if they repeat, then if they came back a second time, then he would give it to them. So
It's
difficult.
unconscionable. It's unconscionable.
it's very
And many of the attorneys are appealing the hearing officers for abuse of discretion. Now, granted, there are some people that probably don't deserve to get their license back. And they didn't make the rules either, but it's very hard to get your license back after you lose your interlock. And you don't get it back, you get it back with an interlock. So Mr. Nuthruft is in a tough spot. I did not ask the question. I wanted to, but they ran out of time. What is the effect of a 257-326 on your request to get your license back? And the answer is probably none, because they'll ask, have you driven again since this? So he is not close to getting his license back. So even if he got a hearing, if they find out about this, they're going to continue his suspension. And there's so much arbitrariness built into it that it is frightening. So let's look at this citation. I don't know what he was doing. It always makes a difference to the prosecutor, whether they're driving to work or driving home from bowling or something. This was 7:56 p.m. on November 12th, which was a Saturday night. Riverside Drive and Vistula Road. So I'm not sure where that leaves us. When I talked to him in December, he had indicated he was working on getting his interlock back. It's now March. And you were working at that time with attorney Megan Smith out of Grand Rapids, is that correct? Has she actually filed anything?
So my understanding of the process.
Well, why don't you come up and have a seat with your lawyer? We don't make you sit over there when your hearing is going on.
So my understanding of the process is she wanted to have me get the letters of support. Which I found that they're a pretty tough process to work on. I had one person get it done very promptly. The other two I thought I could count on. They kind of sloughed it off. Followed up on it. Well, I kind of got busy, but I'll get it to you. So in the meantime, that's when all this happened. But anyway, going back to what I originally said, so her process that she wanted to follow, she wanted me to get these letters, and then she was going to send me for an assessment. And at that time, she would, at the same time, she would file for the getting a hearing date.
Miss Davis, what's your thought?
Well, he didn't get the additional charge of the 1 year for not having insurance on the car.
I think he brought in proof that he had insurance, as I recall.
It's not indicated in here, so maybe at the first arraignment or something, but I understand the process pretty well, and it's been months since this happened. And if you can't get the letters, and if you haven't started going to the treatment, like AA, at least once a week, getting the signatures and doing that substance abuse assessment, it's not going to do you any good. So you can pay an attorney all sorts of money to do this, but they can't do the process for you. You're paying them for their advice on how to complete the process, But
Well, and the biggest problem is, no matter how much money he has, he got arrested for driving suspended while his license was suspended. Now, he hasn't been convicted of it, but in that form, you're guilty until proven innocent. Everything's on its head, and they don't care whether you've been convicted of this or not. The fact that you got caught driving again is going to be a huge black mark. And so and there's no indication that alcohol was involved here. I can't tell anything from the ticket other than the time and date and location.
well, I can't tell whether it was like discretionary driving or whether it was for work purpose. Like, there's just not a whole lot to it.
Saturday night at 8 o'clock. I don't know what to make of that.
I had work that day. So I left work, I ran to the truck stop in Montville.
Well, I don't want you to tell me any more
I was
about
heading
it.
on my way back home.
All right, and I'll take that at face value. The problem is, it's a very, very cumbersome process. And as Mr. Gibson said, they said, well, come back again. Well, there's another $3,000 to $5,000 for an attorney to repetition to come back, and another year with no license. And these cost money. There's no court-appointed counsel to assist with this. There's no legal aid task force to help people get their driver's license reinstated. They just have to pay a private attorney to do it. And the only attorneys that are good at it are the ones that do a lot of it. And so.
And I guess the information that Mr. Gibson did provide to me, I can tell you right now, in my experience, it's not going to be enough to overcome the burden.
That's my sense of it,
I
that
mean,
he's between the rock and the hard place, and he got
Right.
squished.
Like the length of sobriety, I believe, is listed to be sometime in 2020 to present. And it generally, if it's that short of a sobriety period, you better be going to AA monthly, I mean, weekly, and have counseling or some sort of program, have a sponsor.
Well, they want the letters to show, like I'm writing 2 right now for a couple of my sobriety court graduates who've done a good job. And one is 7 years ago and one is 3 months ago. And the problem with the guy 7 years ago, I haven't seen him in 7 years.
Right.
So he's gonna have to show what he's been doing. The other woman, I've seen her recently and I believe she's still doing a good job, but there's not a lot. So the deck is stacked against the petitioner. And that's just the way it is. And I don't have any control over it. The question is, what do we do with this case?
Right. We'd offer to reduce it to a driving suspended first offense. It is going to resuspend him for a year, but in all reality, it's going to take him a year to do the things that he needs to do.
I believe that's true. If he
Yes.
goes in there right now, tomorrow, to petition, and they find out he had a driving suspended charge pending, they're gonna deny him. So if he gets another suspension of 145 days or however long it is, he can go in there with this out in the open, but it's gonna defer your ability to get a license. Do you understand?
Yes.
Driving suspended first offense is a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to 93 days in jail and a fine of up to $500. There are also related charges which often go with driving suspended of no proof of insurance. And this is also a case of driving without due care and caution. No, wait a minute, that's Ross's case. This is just driving suspended. There's no insurance clause to this. Do you understand that if you plead to that charge, you'll be giving up your right to have a trial in front of a judge or jury? There will be no trial. Do you understand that? If you had a trial, you'd have the right to be represented by an attorney. Mr. Gibson is here with you. You have an attorney helping you through that other process. If you had a trial, you'd have the right to take the witness stand on your own behalf and testify, but you don't have to because you have a right not to testify. And if you did not wish to testify, the judge or jury could not hold your silence against you. And you have the right to be presumed innocent if and until the state was able to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand? Were you driving a car on November 12th on a Saturday night at about 8 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Where were you going?
I was returning back home.
All right. And where were you coming from?
From Mongo, the truck stop from Mongo.
Where do you work?
I don't work anywhere now.
But where were you working at that time?
The paper mill in Constable.
They work all kinds of screwy shifts. What shift had you worked?
That day I went in on a second shift to help finish up building shelter for some steam equipment.
All right. How did you happen to go to Montville?
I just stopped at the truck stop to get some snacks.
Okay. And what? All right, I guess that's it. Why'd they pull you over?
Expired tag.
All right, that often happens. You can't have a license, you get expired, you don't get insurance. There's no information in here. All right, I'm just gonna give you a fine, but this is gonna be bad enough. But Ms. Davis, I think, is correct. It's gonna take you more than a year anyway. You're gonna need to share this with your attorney.
Yes, sir.
$125 fine, $75 crime victims' rights fee, $50 state minimum fee. That's $250 and $150 attorney fee. That's $400, making those some very expensive snacks. But what you were doing is you lost your interlock and just driving to get back and forth to work. It's so common that it happens 10 million times a day. And after learning how difficult it is to maintain your interlock after you get out of sobriety court, I'm not at all surprised that you lost it. You told me you're not working now. How long will it take you to pay that fine?
I could pay for that.
All right. Mr. Gibson, I'll ask if you take your client out to the counter to pay that ticket. This will show up and further suspend your license for an additional period of time. Good luck, sir. The officer who we shan't name was that policy. We'll come back in a year. Pay your attorney again. And if you're really serious about it, you'll spend the additional money. And so there are different varieties, but these are lost interlock after treatment court, which is different than just a general petition for restoration of your license. But I said, do you have any statistics on people that actually get all the way through the process? And they did not.
You know, it was hit or miss on some. There was one that I did for a gentleman that lived absolutely in the middle of nowhere outside of Golden. And he was probably like early 60s. And he had several DUIs, but they were like 20 years prior. And he hadn't been going to any treatment or AA, just kind of a homebody, him and his wife, they had custody of their grandchild, needed to be able to drive. And I told him from the beginning, I'm like, look, I'll do what I can, but this is gonna be a tough one. And we did it, we got the letters, we, explained on the record, we did there. Well, the officer took it under advisement. I was like, oh, it's a bad sign, like this is gonna deny us later. I was shocked. A few weeks later, we got in the mail that they gave him a fully reinstated license. So, and then other times I thought,
Christine
Should be
said
decent.
she quit doing them because they would come in there with everything they thought they needed. And so I don't know, having never done it, I've just heard lots of horror stories. And that was an interesting presentation.